Classes in session. And welcome to Unlearn 16 Classes in Session. Now, today class really is in session because I have one of my oldest friends, really. We met in grade 9, 1990, something offensive like that. But we actually met before school. So this is Matty Anderson, folks. He's an amazing person. We're going to have a pretty in-depth conversation. We're going to start at high school.
Happy to be here.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
So we met in high school, but we didn't meet in high school. Where did we meet? We met before high school.
On the baseball field.
We met on the baseball field. I was the only girl playing in a house league team in Whitby, in which they didn't even want me playing because I was a girl.
I remember that. There were issues. There were parents. They were like, why is she on the field?
Why is she on the field? Get this girl. And I had to try out, and there was a bit of a process there. But one of the coolest things, well, you guys can't see this right now. You might be able to kind of garner it. But, like, Matt's 6'4" and had the fastest fastball in that league.
I was good.
You were good. You had... It was a hard pitch. And I caught for him quite a few times, actually. But we had a great time. And the nicest part, there were some guys that gave me a hard time, but you didn't.
Yeah,
why didn't you?
You were always just because you were good. I just treated you like you were on the team. I didn't care that you were a girl or not, and you could handle my heat. So
that's not a euphemism.
No, not whatsoever. It was just I was throwing 70 miles an hour at 13 years old, and you could handle it. And not a lot of I got cut from the rep team that year because the coach's kid was a catcher, and he said I threw too hard in tryouts.
I don't even understand. How is that even possible? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember I tried out for Oshawa, and I got cut from the Legionnaires because they said they couldn't take me on tour.
You were never going to crack that
They couldn't take me on tour. No. They said, I made it right to the end. He goes, but I can't take her on the bus. I can't take her to hotel rooms. I can't take her. And my mom back in, that was the, 89. My mom was like, okay.
Yeah.
But, when we think about 1990, right, most guys gave me a hard time. And I'm interested because, yes, I could play and you saw I could play, but lots of guys knew I could play and still were dicks.
Well, my thing is this. I was always the biggest guy. So I was always the biggest guy I knew. I was always the tallest. I was always the biggest guy. And if I was a big guy that thought he was a tough guy and pushed people around and had an attitude, I would have been considered a bully. And if I was a big guy that pushed people around or beat up little guys or they beat me up, I would look like a punk.
Right.
So it was like, take the John Candy approach and be nice to everybody. And you were cool. And why would I give you a hard time?
Yeah.
Right. And that's just how I've always been. Right.
Absolutely.
Like if you're good to me, I'll be good to you. But you were a good player. You belonged. So it was and I believe that to this day. Some of the best athletes that I've ever been around are the girls that I've coached, or I remember you guys in high school with your your volleyball team in high school was worldwide. Right?
So nice.
But you guys were so good. My best friend, Linda Parnslew, she's a teacher as well. She's a passionate teacher. But I remember we would watch you guys after school play basketball and everything like that, and it was just you were like.
I just feel like it was a different I had a lot of I was friends with all the guys in high school. It wasn't like that wasn't the case, but you had a different mentality. Still to this day, and we've been friends, and it's not like we talk all the time. We've gone years and years and years without speaking, and then we speak again. It's just like
you go back in time.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed, and I'm like that. If I totally believe if someone's in your life, or someone comes in and out of your life, they're there for a reason, and it's just about what that person does to you, what that person means to you, and some people drift and some people stay, and you and I are just one of those people that'll always looked out for each other,
absolutely,
and just has lingered and stayed. Not lingered. Lingered's the bad word, but it has it stood the test of time. It started there on the field and that's where it started because you could handle the heat. That's the honest to God truth.
Well, it's interesting because we had very different high school experiences, and eventually I want to get into how we've shifted and where we've shifted and what life has thrown at us and what that mentality means. But in I loved high school. I did, I did pretty well at the academic side.
Loved it.
prom prince over here. I'm not too sure the classroom was your focus.
No, it definitely was not.
No,
I was very social.
Very social. Yeah. Very different mentality. What would you say, like, if you could go back then? Because I find it, a lot of people think that who I am now is who I was then. I really wasn't. What do you think the biggest difference is? And this is what I want to focus on for this, 45 minutes or so. What do you think the biggest sort of representation of who you were then? And we're going to get to now, but what do you think then? Like, when you think of yourself
back then,
like, for good or for bad, but how would you describe your high school you?
My high school was either you either loved me or hated me.
Nobody hated you, but how would you describe you? Like, your character, or what was important? John Candy. So your importance, you would say, was being the class clown, being the guy everybody laughed at,
rallying people around, like rallying people up, like getting the crowd going. Like, I played sports and everything like that. I wasn't a superstar in anything but baseball.
Right.
But I mean, I was the guy that would get things going. I knew how to get the crowds going in the assemblies. I knew how to fire people up. I got an award for like citizenship in grade 13 that I didn't even know about it. The Durham board gave it to me. Right. I was like, really? Thanks, because they called me the gentle giant, and I just.
You are very gentle.
And that was the thing. But it was like a lot of people, some people, like, you'd have your crew that didn't jive with that, right? That whatever. Yeah. But it was like I look back to high school and I'm like, it was a great time. And I have a lot of memories of it. My three best friends in life are all people I met in grade 9.
Right.
Or actually in grade 8, High Five basketball camp. But like eventually it went to grade 9. Right? Remember High Five camp?
I do.
Larry Lloyd, great real estate agent now. And that wasn't a plug. Sorry, I just see his signs
plug.
all the time.
That's a fair plug.
But I remember him coaching basketball. But yeah, no, I've remained authentic to those that, like, I've maintained authentic relationships with those that are closest to me over the last 35 years.
And I think there you go. That if I was to describe you, it would be authentic. I've never felt, and this is probably why we're absolutely still friends, is because there's very few people in this world that are authentic. I don't know where that grows for you. I don't know where that comes from for you. But having that authenticity, I think, is why you rallied people around you. And I really want, when I talk about high school and I talk about high school kids that I teach, that's what you want from them. But it's so hard to come by.
But the thing, okay, so, and I'll throw this at you, is I said this the other day. I was having a conversation, and it was about leadership, because obviously the world's in disarray right now.
Absolutely.
And our country especially is like starved for leadership. But leadership is, you can teach. Leadership is not taught.
No, it can't be.
Leaders are born. Mm-hmm. So,
or maybe things happen to them where they become.
They
can grow into that. I think
you can grow into it, but true leaders are born.
You can't fake it.
You can't fake leadership. And so I look at the world and I'm like, a true leader stays calm in adversity, right? And any of our political leaders or anything like that have not shown anything calm about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell that they're not a leader. They're an elected official, but they're not leaders.
Right.
So people are starved for that, right? So it's that
makes perfect sense. It's so funny. That was my last podcast, because I really spoke about the fact that in the absence of great leadership, and I made reference to Trump, we will make do with people who look like they are authentic and seem, even though they say the wrong things or they spell things on Twitter poorly, they look authentic. And so in a void, we'll take that, but the guy or the girl that is polished, that's rolled their sleeves up perfectly and wears the right kind of scuff on their shoe, we're so tired of that.
Well, and that's because there's
no authenticity.
And I mean, I'm not knocking someone who wants to be completely stylish and they whatsoever, but if they're not genuine,
that's
it. And there's no genuine nature coming out of their mouth while they're playing this part,
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not playing a part. I just changed my career at 47 years old. Right? I'm not playing a part. This is exactly how I'm going to do my job.
Right.
And this is what I'm going to do. And this is the guy you're going to deal with, right? So everyone can play the role if they want to play the role, but it's easy to see through that.
Absolutely it is. And the worst part is, I mean, we could talk about the flaws in democracy and out of the political world for a second. It's as though we've created this expectation of what people are supposed to be, and then you watch kids, and again, when we were kids, and I don't think either of us did this, try to fill something. And the more you try to fill something, the less you are who you are.
Well, because that's the thing too. I've struggled with weight my entire life, but as a child, it didn't bother me because I was 6'5", right? So being 350 pounds at 6'5", and the biggest guy in your school and the biggest guy growing up and the biggest guy in town, it didn't bother me that I was overweight. And I had no confidence issues due to that and everything, you know what I mean? Whereas other people might have internalized it, struggled and everything like that. I didn't because of my height. If I was 5'6", we wouldn't be sitting here talking right now.
Right.
At all. I wouldn't have been the same person.
Right.
So as I was growing up, I used my stature to basically endear people to me and control my own.
Control the room too. Yeah, for sure.
So, and I mean, because I have a presence when I walk in a room, but I lost that presence for a long time, and so it's like, so now it's funny, and that's kind of what brought us back together is the fact that I've got my swagger back and even more. So and you, same thing. You've gone through some stuff and you've got your swagger back on 100. So it's like, okay, let's talk about swagger for an hour.
Well, that's what right? Absolutely. But that's and in mentality and your swagger and what you have to bring and your confidence. Everybody looks at people and thinks they know, but really it's so crazy because I think about high school and I feel as though I was confident, I was strong, I was, all of those things, the same thing you thought of yourself. We get older, I come out, but I kind of rolled into that. I was perfectly fine with that. All of these things, and you would think that having that upbringing and that foundation would mean I'd never let it go. But man, Maddie, me and you both, I think, had it kind of sucked out of us, and we didn't even see it coming from any or I didn't see it coming anyways.
It's true. But like, okay, so we're 1 year apart. We've both been divorced. There's
and divorced in a similar time
in a similar
period.
manner. Divorced, no kids, and everything like that. And then
no good time of it.
It wasn't a good time, but it was. You know what? Being divorced taught me what not to screw up the next time around.
Listen, right? and it taught me so. We're going to get to that part, that mentality part. But I think the important thing is to talk about is what goes from we go to high school and we have all of this kind of, inner confidence. I go off to university, you do your thing. And as we become adults, it's not that I look back and think, oh, I lost my somewhere along the way, I just lost it. But it was like slowly letting air out of a tire.
Well, for me, it was health. Like it was just, for me, it was health. Like I struggled with diabetes since I got diabetes when I was 20 years old. I didn't care until something bad happened. And like, long story short, I had 7 surgeries on my foot. I got a couple toes gone. I did not take care of my health whatsoever. And I was single at the time and I owned a house and I had to work and so the pressures and everything like that. And then it just got to the point where my career that I've worked at for so long and I was doing pretty well at physically was killing me. Right. So it was like you basically had to make a decision, and I went through a lot of stuff with that, and I went through it alone before. Like I wouldn't even get into a relationship with anyone because I was like, I got health issues. You don't want to deal with me. And I met my wife, and she had 3 kids, and like. I jumped without a net. Like, you're nine guys out of 10 aren't gonna start dating a girl with 3 kids and an ex-husband. You know what I mean? And I just did, and like I was like, oh my gosh, I love this woman. Right. This is gonna work, and it turned in I went to like I went from working, instant father, turned into a baseball coach, got sick, had 3 more surgeries, got cut off of disability, sued an insurance company to, I need to do something about my health or I'm not going to last long. I had a doctor say to me, Matt, you're over 500 pounds. We don't give guys like you steel legs. We give you steel chairs. So do something about your life.
Right.
And I was like, okay, cool. And that was what I needed. And it wasn't for my wife, like basically and I basically just said, okay, I need to focus on this solely.
Right.
If it wasn't for her supporting me on that, like, I don't know where I'd be.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, and that's just that, and that's how it's been. But it going down that road, it's funny because you'll say it's easier to fall down a hill than climb back up it, right? Mm-hmm. But falling down that hill is years of falling down that hill.
That's the thing,
right? Because you fight that hill, you fight it. You're like, okay, I'm fine, and you fight it. But then you're like, you can't fight anymore. But then you realize, yes, you like as soon as you start to really fight, then you realize, what were you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. When you you can
absolutely dwell, right? You can dwell on it forever. Like, and I spent a good 5 years going, my life's not going to get better.
Yeah.
And it took me meeting the right people.
But look, there, you know, and this goes back to, and I hate it when my mom's right, but it really goes back to
our parents are always right.
Oh, it's annoying.
Yeah, it is, because they are always right on everything. As much as they annoyed us, and as much as they're pretty much bang on 90% of the time.
Who you surround yourself with matters 1,000%.
Completely.
And that is family, because there's some family that you shouldn't surround yourself with. That is friends, right? Yeah. I used to have these friends. I would go out with them when I was a kid, and I'd come home. And I'm like, oh, I can tell that who you hung out with tonight because you're a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
And it's your partner.
Yeah.
Right? And it's your partner's family and all of that. It's like, because I know that for me, obviously going through that marriage and then going through what I went through there and what I did, when you say you were falling down a hill, I always explain it like I felt like I was always running up a hill. You know,
yeah.
I don't know who.
Well, it's tough when one person always does all the work.
Yeah, and I was just like, I'm going to prove this, I'm going to prove this, I'm going to prove this. And it was this constant, and at some point, not when it ended, because it was probably a bit before that, I'm just like, I can't keep running up the hill. And I was tired all the time.
Yeah.
Matt. Like, I would go to bed at 9, and I was, not that I don't go to bed early, but I was exhausted.
I'm in there at 9:30.
But it was an emotional exhaustion that I didn't recognize until I was out. But it wasn't my choice to be out.
You don't realize it until you're fine.
No. And all of a sudden,
you don't realize how screwed up you were until you really feel like, oh my gosh, I've turned a corner.
Right? And how crazy is that to think? Because Matt, I would have been still running up the hill.
Like, there's a guy that, okay, so there's a couple dudes. There's a dude I went to high school. Do you ever remember Justin Bruckman?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so Justin Bruckman, short story. He's a Canadian MMA pioneer. He was the first Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt in all of Canada.
I had no idea.
Fought George St. Pierre.
Doesn't mean anything to me, but fantastic.
In the MMA world, he's
I can't watch MMA. It makes me want to pass out.
I'm not an MMA fan either, but
it scares the heck out of me.
So he had an MMA school, and I sent him a message one day, and he was like, he was selling T-shirts, and I was like, right. I'll buy one of your T-shirts off you, bud. I'll fly your flag for you. Just because I'll support small businesses and local businesses. Fair enough. Help them out. And he was just like, great, sure. And I asked him for the size. He didn't have my size because it was too big. And he offered me help. He's like, and Justin and I were in grade 9 drama class.
There you go.
But when we go back to high school and we talk about that, grade 9 drama class, I looked at him, I called him short, he called me fat, and we never liked each other. Ooh. Ever. Right? Ever.
Yeah.
And so here we are, 44 years old, and he throws me an olive branch because health and wellness is his job.
That's his thing.
And it's his thing. And jiu-jitsu is about a mindset, and it's about how you follow your path. And like, I didn't start taking jiu-jitsu. He just offered me help.
Right.
This is a guy I didn't know.
Didn't get along.
Like, we didn't not get along, but we were like, yeah, whatever.
Had this minor
right?
connection in high school.
Yeah. And like, he offered his hand to me, and I was like, that one thing just changed my complete opinion of that guy who I never knew.
But you know, Matt, you're saying this, and I want to point this out because you understand you offered your hand first. Just something as simple as something as simple as buying that T-shirt to a guy you hadn't spoken to in years. This is what I'm talking about. These tiny little things we do.
Well, there was a conversation. There was a conversation about weight loss and stuff like that and everything. But
you reached out first. You said, "Sure, small business. I know you. You're a good guy. I'm going to do this for you." And all of a sudden, that tiny little thing inspired you, inspired him. And I'm assuming that's what started you on this path.
Well, it took 3 years from that message for me to start. But every 6 months, he checked in. Hey, how are you making out? How's things going? And I was like, I couldn't start. I couldn't start because I had another surgery. I couldn't start because I was laid up for 6 months.
Right.
I couldn't start because I had an infection. I couldn't start. And then one day, boom, I started.
But he checked in.
And he checked in, and it's also, so he pushed me along with another guy who owns a gym in Oshawa, Are You Game? Gord McPhail, who I used to work with when I was a security guard at Illusions and all those places.
Oh, Illusions.
I know.
If anybody from the Oshawa
Anyone
area.
from the Oshawa area remembers me at the front door with a bald head and no beard.
Oh, man. I remember the Old Ages nights. That's how old that place is. When I wasn't even 19.
Sunday nights, yeah. That was I got it, yeah.
Oh, man.
But so I met Gord, and Gord is like literally, and I mean his wife owns it too, Gord and Kim McPhail. They're literally they're like unicorns. They're not from this earth. I call Gord Michael Landon. Like, remember Highway to Heaven?
I do.
Gord is Michael Landon.
Okay.
Gord is Michael Landon who's
life.
made of stone, fully tattooed, bald-headed guy, tough as nails. But he is him and his family and the community that is in this gym that I've belonged to for the last 18 months. Is something I've never experienced before in my life. I've struggled with weight since my entire life, and my friends have been my friends for my entire life. But never once have one of my closest friends said, "Hey, come on, we really got to do this." They just love me because they love me.
Yeah.
Right. But here I am with these people who are like, you know what? You're broken. We're gonna fix you, and we're gonna rally around, and we're not gonna let you fall.
Right.
And my trainer Jenny Brewer, she's unreal. She's 5'2". And I listened to her, and that's what I had to do when I finally made the decision to say, because it took a phone call from another friend to say, "Hey, you haven't gone to the gym yet. Why haven't you gone?"
Right.
And I had to get called out by another man, to say, "Dude,
poking you a little
what's
bit.
your problem?"
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have gone.
There you go.
But now that I'm gone, it's the changes that I've seen in myself, that I've seen in my family and my environment all around me.
It all comes together.
It all comes down to the people that I've surrounded myself with.
Absolutely.
It all comes down to the mindset I've adopted from them.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the mindset of I always had the mindset of, okay, all I need to do is lose 150 pounds and my life will be fine.
Right.
Which is bull.
Absolutely.
Which is bull, because it just won't happen that way.
Well, and our whole society is based on, everybody looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, Joanna, you eat McDonald's so much, you do this, you do that." And I don't put on weight the same way.
Well, you have a fast metabolism.
But that's look, I have a bad knee, and I realize, and I'm trying to eat healthy, and I'm not giving up McDonald's, so if McDonald's would like to sponsor me, please. But I'm not giving that up. I can't give that, but I think that I have the treadmill downstairs, and you start to have a shift of what healthy is. And what I didn't realize is, I did realize it, is the whole world just judges your aesthetic. Nobody judges your health.
No, exactly. But
right?
And I always looked at it like that. I was like, okay, I'll look a lot better. So if I look a lot better, I'll feel a lot better,
there
right?
You go.
And but feeling better as you age is far better than looking better.
Absolutely.
As you age.
Yeah.
So for me though, it's I've never been see, that's the thing. You've got your PhD, your master's, you're smart as a whip.
No PhD.
Okay, well, you might as well. The way you talk, you might as well. But I went, like I said earlier downstairs, I went to the University of Who You Know. I graduated with honors. You know what I mean?
That's the, what were your school colors? Go ahead. Sorry.
It's just blue jeans.
You know, blue jeans,
Yeah,
yes.
but, so it's, for you and I coming from a different perspective, but we're still angling the same way through our ups and our downs.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's been weirdly paralleled.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I think for a very long time, I very much relied on my intelligence. I always could, talk in any room, and I felt very confident with that. So that's what I led with. What I forgot, it took me getting knocked down really hard for me to even care about it, which is what you're getting to, and even when you're talking about your physicality, is an emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And if I was in high school, this was going back to high school, I could have cared less.
Yeah.
I would have, how was your day? Fine, I'm good. Everything's golden. Nothing ever bothered me, rolled off my back. Of course it didn't. And it would slowly chip away. And the awareness of what emotional intelligence is, and then that slides into mental health. Here's our foundational problems. We don't ever talk about that. I got good grades, great. You were the life of the party, great. People loved both of us, fantastic. That's all we had to care about.
Nobody knows what goes on behind anyone's closed doors, right? Nobody knows what people struggle with. And because we do that as humans. I'm sorry, social media has done that to everybody. Hey, look at me. Right?
But we were around before social media. You and I were both, hey, look at me in high school, and everybody loved us because that's what we could wheel, right?
Yeah, no, and that's
I could wheel that in class, you could wheel that on the baseball diamond, and we did great, and we'd come home. Not that I came home, don't get me wrong. It's not like I came home and thought about it, but those are a lot of wasted years. I didn't think about it. I didn't have that emotional intelligence.
But you did, how do you expect to have emotional intelligence when you're not even an adult?
I think we need to talk about it more. I mean, I'm a teacher now. You're raising kids now. This is the thing. When kids talk about, mental health, a lot of people think they're just being, especially our generation, like, buck up. What's wrong with you? Like, suck it up. But I think what they're speaking to, and nobody's really naming it, is the idea of emotional intelligence, emotional health, being aware of who you are, what drives you, what gets you down, what gets you up. That's all.
But I think there's a problem for kids nowadays because they're asking kids at 12 years old what you want to be for the rest of your life.
What's ridiculous?
Right? With the testing and everything like that, and they're saying, "Oh, like my daughter wants to be a doctor."
Okay.
Okay, and I hope to heck she works her butt off and becomes a doctor. But she did one of those tests, and because she mentioned, like, I like to do stuff outdoors, and her job came back as you should be a crossing guard. She was like devastated.
You're lying.
I swear she was devastated about it was in grade 6 or 7 she had to do this. She came home and she's like, they said my job would be a forest ranger or a crossing guard. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So what's wrong with that? Everything.
Oh my God.
Because you've taken a 12-year-old kid and said, based on this test, you're going to be a crossing guard or a park ranger.
Look, a park ranger, fine.
How are you going to have emotional intelligence? But how is it grade
6?
But how are you going to have emotional intelligence when you're being told from the time when you're not even emotionally intelligent as it is?
But that's the point. There's the failure of the system,
completely.
Right? 100%. There's the failure of the system.
Henceforth, why my children will live at my house.
Henceforth.
Until I'm 30. Until they're 30.
That's fine. But that's the point, right? Like, we've come to all of this. Why? Because we had to go through, you went through health stuff, I went through the marriage and divorce, and you went through divorce, and we had to really roll into it. Like, my dad passed when I was younger. I had to deal with that, but I kind of packed that away and moved on with my day.
My mom passed at 19. Like, I was same thing.
And we just roll past it like it's don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But roll past it in the sense that I didn't see a therapist.
No.
I didn't really talk to anybody about it. Like, I saw, oddly, an Anglican minister. This is so weird. I was in university when he passed, and I was doing a report, and an Anglican minister, this amazing woman, sat me down and knew I was upset and gave me this one thing to do, which was write a letter with my left hand, whatever. And I felt like that changed my world. And But when I look back on it, it was great for the time. But holy crap, Joanna. Like, I should have been I should have gone back and really, really dug into some of those things, I think that it would have made me a little bit more aware of who I am. Because, you know, a lot of people talk about relationships and you're not with the right person. No, screw it. The number one thing wrong with all relationships has nothing to do with the other person.
It's got everything to do with you.
You.
Yeah.
You don't know you.
No,
we don't take 10 minutes to know us.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what I mean by emotional intelligence.
No, I totally agree with you. But kids nowadays, like... Kids.
You sound so old.
I know, I do. Hey, okay, boomer. That's what we're gonna say.
Kids
okay,
nowadays.
Okay, boomer. Right? I have to.
I
have to correct my nieces and nephews and tell them that like I'm not a baby boomer. That would have been your grandparents. Take care. I'm Gen X.
Take care.
Right? Like
I'm Gen X.
I still dress like I did 30 years ago.
I'll tell you to shove your emotions, and I am going to wear these jeans to the day I die.
But that's one thing I don't tell my kids to do. I try and get my kids to express their emotions.
Oh, sure.
All the time.
100%.
Like I'll even try to fire my kids up to get some emotion out of them.
Right.
Right? Like my daughter's a pleaser. Right? I don't want her to be a pleaser.
Me too.
Whatsoever. Like
Absolutely.
Don't be a pleaser.
Yeah.
Stop saying sorry to everybody.
Yeah.
Right? My son's a gamer.
Right.
I hate video games. Right? I don't want him to waste his life playing video games.
Right.
But he started working out.
Yeah.
Since he started seeing me working out.
There you go.
And it was like, okay, good. You're giving her now. And like his 150-pound arms turned into 155-pound arms after 3 months of working out.
Right.
And it's good because he's got a goal that he's going towards. But your message, like, I admire the fact that you're a teacher because I always wanted to be a teacher. Right?
You would have been.
No, I would have been. I would have been a fantastic teacher.
You would have been insane.
But that was the thing. My mom died. My mom died in my last year of high school.
Yeah.
So I took a victory lap to play baseball, grade 14, and it was like, no, OACs were not in my thing. So I didn't end up going on to be a teacher. But so that's how that derailed. My mom dying derailed what I really wanted to do in life. So because like I was a supervisor in automotive for 20 years.
Right.
Like I didn't know anything about car parts.
Right.
And I wasn't really interested in the car parts.
But it doesn't matter.
But I did
your personality
it,
and
right?
your yeah.
But I was a leader of people, and
100%.
and that's what I mean. So it worked. But yeah, like it's hard right now because you can't teach emotional intelligence when you're already telling people they can't be what they want to be.
Well, but therein lies the flaw. And that's why I look at kids. A lot of people would say, kids today, they don't know this. I go, you know what? If you take a minute and you stop telling them who they are or giving them those ridiculous tests that should be illegal, or letting them drop math because they're not good at it, or letting them, as soon as we step back, like I have this grade 8 class and it's sort of I've made it up because I work at a private school. So this is extra of the curriculum and it's global issues or whatever. And the kids the only thing I'm trying to inundate is the fact that you're brilliant, you're critical thinkers, you're capable. Show me. I don't need you to memorize anything. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't need you to write a test. I don't need you to memorize. But what I need you to do is research, listen, debate, argue. And you know what? Grade 7 and 8, they are on fire for that. And we kill that in our kids. And then we wonder why they aren't critical thinkers or why they don't have a sense of self. Well, we killed it. We killed it in grade 5. We killed it in grade 7, whatever year we killed it in.
Yeah.
And I realized that you and I coming from the generation we did, it just wasn't emotional. All that stuff just wasn't on the... We didn't talk about that in that way. And even opening up the conversation, I think, says everything.
But like we were the first latchkey kids, right? I'm sure your mom didn't get home from work till 5 o'clock every night, and you were home for an hour and a half to 2 hours every night.
Well, my mom worked nights.
Okay,
my
so
mom
there
was
you
a
go,
nurse, right?
So there you go, right? My parents, in our household growing up, my parents got home from work at 5 and 5:30, and dinner was on the table and ready for them because we had already done everything.
Right.
So we were we grew up and we were self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So it was basically sink or swim, be home at this time. We grew up in a world where our parents just said, okay, we trust you, don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And if you got in trouble, you got in trouble. And I got grounded a lot back in the day, but I mean...
I did not.
I was grounded. You remember the parties I used to have? I got grounded
I didn't go to any party. I was at home bed at 9:30. I was 45 when I was 16.
Well, I had some big shakers back in the day.
Yeah.
Oof.
But that's my point, is that I think there could be a happy balance between some of the helicopter parents maybe we see nowadays to what our parents were. There's a middle ground there. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Well, the problem with the helicopter parents is the helicopter parents, and I mean, I hope I don't get judged for this, but
it's the internet. You absolutely
okay, fair enough, whatever.
Enough. Bring it on.
But helicopter parents, they fly that helicopter everywhere for those kids.
Oh yeah.
So that helicopter goes to their sports games. That helicopter goes to their recital. That helicopter goes everywhere. And if that child doesn't get the same praise that they get at their address where they live, that's problems for the volunteers helping out their children. Right. So it's. But
that's why it can't be. It's all about balance.
But you have 50% of the parents are out there are helicopter parents, and 50% of the parents are like,
see ya.
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Like you need the world is not easy. The world does not revolve on the internet.
Right.
You still have to get up and go out and make something of yourself.
Absolutely. But I think finding that balance is incredibly important. I think finding that emotional intelligence. I mean, I just don't want people. The awareness I've got in the last, I don't know about you, but I would say it's been in the last, I mean, COVID really did kick me in the butt in order to push and facilitate that, because I didn't have a choice. I was trapped in here by myself, nothing else to do but sit in my head and figure out what went wrong over here, figure out why it went wrong, and then, heaven forbid, actually think about just me. Not about what they did, not about what I did, what I could have done, what I should have done, this, whatever. But just think about me, and I'm like...
And you did a lot of TikToks at that time.
I did 3 a day.
I'm not going to lie to you.
It was like therapy.
I made fun of her.
He made fun of me.
For it.
Look, he saw my...
But I understood.
Until he understood.
Yeah.
There was a catharsis there. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
When you started to do that, though, I was like, what is my friend doing?
It's true.
Like...
She's 45 or however old, and you're like, what, are you lip syncing to what?
And sure, you like the Backstreet Boys, whatever, but
it's New Kids on the Block.
Okay, fair enough.
What the heck is going on? I'm not back. But you know what's funny? And I tell you, and I know we've had this conversation, but when I started TikTok, first of all, that's what I thought it was. Little did I know how truly amazing everything could be. But the interesting part was, the reason why I started lip syncing, because it was a form of acting. But Maddie, that scared the heck out of me. If somebody said, Joanna, you're going to be in a play, I'm a teacher, but if somebody said you're going to be in a play, I didn't used to like dressing up for Halloween. I didn't like the pretense. I didn't like pretending. I didn't like putting on something. And the reason why I did it is because it scared me. I did some stupid dances. I was god awful. Please don't go back to those TikToks. But the lip syncing, it made me do something I was terrified of, that I knew old friends was going to be like, what the heck? And then this community on TikTok.
Well, part of me, and that was the thing. We talk about how the fact that we've known each other forever and we've been friends since we met, but we didn't, there was, you know what I mean? We don't hang out and have cheese every Saturday night. But cheese, my wife's a big cheese fan.
Cheese?
Oh, charcuterie. You don't get the charcuterie going?
There's more than cheese. You don't just say cheese on a plate.
Oh, you can do a full cheese charcuterie board.
That's it? That's all you eat? There's no crackers on that plate?
Well,
I think we're going to take a detour.
There'll be crackers and
bread and jams.
We're
going to do a charcuterie board.
And
Is it a charcuterie board? Or
charcuterie.
Are you saying with a hard CH?
I don't say char. I say char.
I think you might be mistaken. But anyways,
I don't know. My wife makes the nicest charcuterie boards
I'm coming over next Sunday. Okay.
You can have one. She will definitely make you a board.
So you saw my TikToks and you're like, what the heck?
But I was
broken?
like, part of me was like, am I good? Like, would she get upset if I asked her if she was all right? No, and I'm not that came from a place.
And then he texted me, are you okay?
But that came from a place of concern, right? Because I'd never seen you do stuff like that, and and it was total that was not your
true.
And it was funny. I'm like, oh, really?
I have high school friends. I have new friends that were they saw me go on TikTok and they're like, who is this Joanna? But what I realized, Matt, high school, I would have been too scared to do anything out there, right? I would have been too scared to put myself on the line. And then after that...
Well, that's funny, because in high school, I would have done anything you asked as long as I could get a laugh.
There you go.
And as I became an adult, I went inward because of my health issues and my weight, and because of the fact that I was like kind of a little bit disabled with my foot.
Right.
And so I turned into a hermit and like kind of, I was like, okay, this is what's going to happen. But then in watching you, like when COVID hit, you started doing your TikToks. When COVID hit, March 14th or whatever, like I'd only been working out for 6 weeks with my trainer.
Right.
And I'd lost 40 pounds right off the hop.
Yeah.
And then the gym closed. And I panicked.
Right.
Like you would not believe.
Well, sure.
Right? And so then I was like, okay, fair enough. And yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so I panicked and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something. What am I going to do? So I took a page from your book and I sat my ass down in my basement and I recorded my workout. And I posted it online and I posted that workout and the feedback I got from it.
This is it.
And the positivity that I got back from it was like, oh my gosh, I'm really going to do it this time.
Yeah.
Right? Despite the fact the gym being closed for 4 months, despite the fact my trainer not having access to her, despite the fact not having access to these new group of people that had opened my eyes up to what I could totally turn this into.
And these are perfect strangers, right? I got
pretty much
100%.
Like,
every once in a while. Yeah. But perfect strangers. And then you felt, and that's how I felt. Like it's funny because, you know, you had to deal with your health issues. For me, like I was married to somebody who needed a lot of light shone on. I never would have done this because I would have been taking that from her. Yeah. And so all I did was feed this energy over here. And when I finally started doing it for myself and my friends and my family are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I think this is me. This is me. It's just that I was too scared when I was little because I was insecure. And as I grew with security, I started giving everything I had to somebody else and not doing it, right? But when I started doing it, I'm like, oh.
I did the same thing though.
Jeez.
I did the exact same thing with, like, because like I said, I inherited my kids and I was all concerned about being a good dad and a good husband and good to the kids and being the baseball coach and being this. And I like totally wasn't taking care of myself.
Right.
But my wife was like, my wife's going to get, I look at it like this. This is a completely selfish endeavor, what I'm doing. I spend a ton of time at the gym.
Absolutely not, but go ahead.
No, but it has to be selfish. You have to be selfish in order to get to the point where you are, because the person that I'm turning into for my family is, even though my family loved me either way, but the person I'm turning into for them and
so much better
is just going to be so much better. And for that, right?
You know what, we got to try to use a different word than selfish, because I get what you're saying, because sometimes, like, you know, I met Anna and she just supports me. I can't compare it. I have nothing to compare it to. And sometimes I feel selfish because I'm here and I'm doing lives.
But that's what I mean. It's the same thing. My wife supports me. Okay, hey, you gotta.
But don't you support her?
Oh, I support, but
then that's not selfish. That's empowering. That's. We got to think of another word, because selfish makes it sound like I am doing this for me and to hell with everybody else, but that's not what it is.
But for me to do this and to focus completely on it, like, it's my complete focus. Like, like I'm selling cars now, but my focus, I'm not selling a car until I've done my workout. Like, and if I've got a slow day, I'm going back to the gym,
right?
Because that's my priority. Like, who knows? In 5 years, I may not be selling cars. You know what I mean? Like, my main focus is my health,
right?
And it's if so. Okay, selfish isn't the word.
Yeah, it's
but
something else.
Okay.
There has to be another word.
The word isn't going to be even better, but sometimes you can be a little narcissistic when going through this. But it's a very solitary environment where you're like,
there's a better word.
This is about me.
Whoever's listening to this in the comments, I want you writing the better word. We need a better word.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what the better word.
But you understand what I'm saying?
It's not selfish because it's not selfish because I need to do it.
Yeah.
Right. In that sense. However, but I don't know. I just sometimes, maybe that's just my own.
Yeah. No, but I get what you're saying, and I am like, I do this. Look at this room. Like, obviously, this room is dedicated to something very specific. But this makes me, what I'm doing here, what I hope to be doing in the future, is making me more of who I am and who I always should have been. And I think you're on that same path.
But it's not should have been. No, that's where you're wrong. It's not always who you should have been.
Who I am
It's
now.
Who you've evolved to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, you know, it's not.
Yeah.
Everyone has it's always maybe what you want it to be.
Yeah.
But it's not what, like, you've
you're
always
right.
should have been a teacher.
Right.
Because just like I say about Linda.
Yeah.
Like, she is one of the most fantastic. She's the most like passionate teacher I've ever met in my life. She loves her job.
Right.
She's dedicated to teaching, and like that's education needs people like that, like yourself and everything like that. You are, but this is just basically, this is your platform so that your word,
that's it,
your message
just bigger,
can broaden.
Hopefully, yes.
And so it's not about what you should have been. This is where what you've always meant to be, sort of.
And to thinking about this for a second, because I think your story, that new path that you took a step on, was you buying one shirt. And me, I decided to lip sync one stupid song and not feel so scared. And I think, and you know, as we wrap this up, I think that's it. I think trying to do things that maybe 100% scare us, number one. If it scares you, jump in with both feet. And to see what that path is so incredibly empowering.
Well, the thing with me is no one's ever been able to tell me what to do. And I basically gave up control and said, I will listen.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to be, and I talk far too much, like you can tell, I'm a talker, right? But you're a talker too.
Right now?
But it's once, like, if you have to give up control in order to move forward. If you don't
but I think the key is surround yourself with the right people to give that control up to.
Exactly. But if you don't have the right people around you, I'm not going to say you're going to fail, but it's a big key to success to pad your circle with like-minded people
100%.
that fly the same flag.
I like it.
Right?
Fly the same flag. And on that note, Maddie, thank you so much for being here.
This was fantastic.
I think we can do a
Lovely
part 2.
Little Friday night.
Lovely little Friday night. And I think I want, please, in the comments, wherever it is you post stuff, we need a better word. We need a better word for people coming into their own, becoming self-aware, driving for who they are and what they want. We need a good word for that. I'm going to put it on a t-shirt, I swear to God.
And make it a big
that'll
one
be my
so
merch.
I can fly your flag.
There you go. Fantastic. All right. Thank you very much. Come see me next Tuesday. Class is in session. Dismissed.